Good morning. Hang on. There's Kathy in. There's Kimberly in. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
How the heck are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Fabulous. What's going on in your
That's
world out
awesome.
there, Kimberly?
Whoa, let's see. I am still working through the Pro Edge with Smarty. It's
Okay.
been a long time coming, but I think it'll be worth it. Trying to get everything situated. I did my first video yesterday.
Yay. Okay, hang on.
Yeah.
What platform is it on?
I put it on all platforms. I put it on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. I even tried Nextdoor, I think.
Okay, hang on. I want to make sure we're friends. And if we're not friends, I definitely want to friend you because I want to see it. So hang
Okay.
on. Kimberly, and I don't think we are yet. Robinson. So I'm on Facebook, and there you are, add friend. And then I will go through and TikTok. I'm not as good at TikTok yet. I'm still learning it. So once I figure out TikTok, I
It's
will.
really good. You have to try it.
Okay, hang on. Oh, hang on. Shut up. TikTok. See, I turn on TikTok and then blah. I stop talking, man. Search accounts. Okay, let me see if I can find you here. Kimberly.
I
Robin.
need to go through and add everybody too, and I haven't.
That's actually a good. Okay, I don't know what your name is on TikTok.
I think
Oh,
it's South Florida _ realtor.
Hang on one second. South Florida what?
_ realtor.
_ realtor. Okay, TikTok. Add there. Okay, perfect. Got it. All right. Morning, everybody else.
Good morning. Good morning.
That actually, Kathy, is a good idea for us to all go around and add everybody else. I mean, with the entire team of 100 people, even if we can only add half, that's 50 people more following that we can start sharing and doing stuff. I think I should talk to Gary about that also to get him to push that also. Gary, social media, add friends, everyone, share.
What do you think about Jason?
Last night?
Mm-hmm.
I liked him. I thought that he brought really good value. I thought that he brought really good value. I don't think he talks too fast. He talks fast, but I've learned to slow down a bit. And so I have no problem keeping up with that. And we have the recording anyway, which I think we can play back at whatever speed we want to. So, but then I also thought that it was very interesting. He led in prayer, which was that was cool. But then I thought it was very interesting when Roger, I think it was, who said something, and then everybody kind of jumped in. And the thing that because I was talking to my son this morning in Washington State on his way into work, and I said, did the question need to be asked? I said, maybe the question did need to be asked. I said, but the cool thing is I really feel like our group, I feel like we all have whatever faiths we have and we stand firm in those faiths, but it doesn't take away from anybody else's faiths. That's really was my take on it. So, but I'm more interested in what your takes were.
Yeah, but I asked the question.
Exactly. That's why I turned it around on you.
I don't think that we, and maybe I'm just taking from my viewpoint, I don't think that we target or exclude or minimize anybody's particular faith in our group, at least.
Right.
But I feel like he must have thought so. And I think he left. He didn't stay on the meeting. I don't know when he left because I didn't pay attention.
He stayed pretty late. I think up until like the last 10 minutes.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But
oh, so we're talking about last night, the alienation.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll give my
I
take
think he was offended. I could be wrong, but I think he was.
Well,
I think he was trying to make a point, and so
could be.
And I think his delivery was odd because he started off with other religions, which is why I chimed in because I am.
You fast typer, because I was trying to type and you were right there.
And I wanted to let him know that as someone that is not Christian, I totally didn't take any offense. But I think what I think he just wanted to kind of
Throw
make
that
a
out there.
point, but he wasn't facing it. And I don't think that the presenter was putting his viewpoint on anyone. And I think Gina's point was we allow everybody to be the authentic self. So, you know, maybe the conversation is if your authentic self is agnostic or atheist, that's cool. And we want you to be okay with sharing that.
Yeah,
Nobody's going to
exactly.
say, you can't, we're going to respect. And so just like we would respect him, we've got to respect the presenter whose true north happens to be Christianity. If your true north is Mother Earth or a tree, good for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the thing that I find very interesting, the question I've been asking lately, and I don't have the answer, it's just the question I've been asking is, if I stand on my faith firmly, publicly, and acknowledge it without trying to proselytize, just this is who I am and what I believe, does it take away from somebody else's faith or belief? Because I don't feel like somebody else's faith or belief takes away any of mine. I don't feel
Yeah.
that at all.
This is my take on it,
Yeah.
because I think the presenter and the person that made the comment both got something out of it last night. The presenter, I think, got out of it was because I think when you're presenting as a business, you don't have to keep continually saying Jesus, your what your beliefs are. It's okay to let us know, or whatever. And then in the beginning, I don't need you to pray for me either. That's just me, right? Now the guy that made the comment, I think what he got out of it was, if you're gonna be, I think they both got what Gary said in the end about tolerance. And I think a lot of times when you're in a space, I found myself in it before I grew. When I was a Christian, I found myself forcing Christianity on other people. When I moved to another space, I found myself forcing that onto other people until, like Gary said, I could respect other beliefs. And that comes from being able to not only listen to others, but also read and research about other religions too, because I think Christianity did a good job of making you believe that anything else out of Christianity was evil. That was how I grew up in Christianity. It was like, if you didn't read that book, the Holy Bible, anything else was evil and is not of God. So I think religious people, spiritual people, so-called spiritual or whatever, I think we all have to, like Gary said, come from a place of love instead of a place of religion or that spirituality, because it all can get proselytizing. Because if you're just gonna force your way onto someone else, I believe it's whatever makes you better. If it works for you and it makes you better and it makes you into a better person for you and your family and the world, so be it. But I just think a lot of people can't. They seem like they can't separate it. You know, they have to force someone else to be like them or to believe like them.
And he made an interesting comment at the end.
Uh-huh.
He said, as Jordan says, Republicans buy Jordans too, buy sneakers too.
Yeah.
And I was like, don't be divisive.
Yeah.
Like it's not a political thing.
Oh yeah. I feel that there's some, I'm just going to say it because, okay, let's just start with this. This is a free space to just have your flipping opinions and it's okay. And it's your opinions on, and just like Craig said, it's not for us to proselytize to go, mine's right or yours wrong. It's just my flipping opinion. And it's just Craig's and Bree's and Kathy's and PF's and Anna's and Kimberly's flipping opinions. It's fine. And I don't need to, well, okay, I'm going to back up. I think there's something mentally, when you have a conversation that has no political attachment on any level, and then some extremist on one side or the other, and both sides, by the way, have done hecka problematic, evil crap in the world.
Yeah.
And both sides have done good too. When you bring that into it, and it was like, this was not a political conversation. If it is, great, have a political conversation and, go at it. But this was not. And it's one thing to maybe, crack a joke or something, but then I don't know. I just don't think, I think that there's something wrong when people drag politics, and you can see them on any of the social media accounts where every conversation is a political conversation.
Yeah.
And I avoid those.
Yeah, I don't care anymore. I really don't. I have.
And I think it's one thing when you want to engage in the right forum, but
Yes.
if you're just going to throw out like darts,
Yeah.
that's not engaging in a conversation from a basis of, I really want to get to know your viewpoint.
Right.
Yes, and understand, because
I want to understand, and I respect the fact that we are different.
I'll never forget being in California, in LA at the Grove, and a bunch of vegan meat, PETA. I don't know, maybe it was PETA. Anyway, protesters came in and they started they had the big loud bullhorn thing, and they started chanting, and they would surround like the butcher's booth, and they would surround these different booths, and they were just, it was horrible. And
That's obnoxious.
it was horrible. And the thing, I wish I would have thought of it later. I wish I would have thought it then. I didn't think of it until later. But the one thing I thought of immediately was also the person that stands on the soapbox at the corner that's espousing Christianity, and you're going to die and burn in hell. I don't know of any person ever who's been changed to a vegan or changed to a Christian by somebody screaming at them over a bullhorn. It's assaulting.
It's bullying.
It is, and maybe it used, maybe it used to work way back when, but this is not, this is a different time and place, and I don't know if it ever worked, but it doesn't work now. What I wish I would have done, and it makes me almost cry, gosh darn it, is I wish when the PETA or the vegans or whatever they were that were protesting meat and eating animals, I wish I would have pushed my way through the crowd of, there was about, I don't know, 25 or 30 of them. I wish I would have pushed my way through that crowd of people and bought the biggest chunk of meat from that butcher that I could have possibly got. And not that I wanted it, and I don't know how the hell I was going to get it home, because we lived a while away, and I would have had to get, an ice pack to get the damn thing home. And but that's what I wish I would have done. Because I don't know. I think that when we see things like that, we have to stand up. Yeah. And I don't want to, okay, I'm going to go in more with my opinion. I'm going to shut up for a minute because it's not about me. If I really, this is my faith talking. If I really believe what I really believe, and my faith stands in Christianity really firm. If I really believe what I really believe, then I really believe that this is the right way. I really do believe that. I also believe that there is a big, huge mountain. I am not on the top of any flipping mountain, because God knows I am not there. And I also believe that all different kinds of ways will get you to that mountain. I firmly believe that. But I also am not going to go into someone's life and yell and scream and try and slam my thing down upon them, because my Savior didn't do that either. He just asked people questions and just talked to them, and he took them where they were. And he blessed them where they were, and he showed them love, because if somebody is starving or hungry or hurt or anything else, me beating you over the head with a rock is not going to do a damn bit of good, and is the opposite of what I should be doing. And I would suck if I did that. So that's just how I feel about it.
And the other thing is that all of the preachers and everybody else that are, all of us, we're all just people.
Yeah.
No
We're all screwed up, messed up people trying to do a little bit better than whatever it was we did yesterday.
I mean, I got so mad at my parents' church and the folks that were up at the top, the pastors and such, because they're down there in Florida, right? They need help. They've gone to that church forever, right? They wouldn't give them any help because they didn't actively contribute in different groups.
I tell you, I think when you get hurt in the whatever faith you're in and your faith hurts you, I think it hurts twice as much as a person outside of that faith hurting you, because you know the tenets of your faith and what it's supposed to be like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I know Gary's a former preacher. Rob
Gary-
Oh,
Lane.
really?
Gary's
Yeah.
not a former preacher.
Or Gary, I thought Gary told me he was I thought that's what he
He
had told me
studied
before.
and went to seminary or something for a little while.
Okay,
I think.
gotcha.
Yeah, but I don't
So
think he actively preached. I think he went
gotcha.
straight to thinking. Okay.
Okay. So Gary, Rob Lane,
Yeah.
you know, myself,
Hmm.
you know, and
Are you a former preacher?
I was a youth
Studying.
Youth pastor. That's right. That's right.
yeah,
That's right. Okay, go on.
I wouldn't say pastor, but preacher.
Okay. All right.
I think so, like the guy last night, you know, he kept having to say, you know, what it is. So when you do that, you open yourself up to people like the guy that
Exactly.
made the
I thought
comment.
that too. Yeah.
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 And my point is, I think when you grow in whatever faith you are,
Hmm.
you don't have to pronounce it. You show it.
Show it. You don't pronounce
That's very
You know,
good.
because Gary,
Just actions are louder than words.
yeah. So
Yeah.
you look at Gary and Rob, even us on this call, we all have different belief systems or
Mhm.
whatever, but we respect one another. We don't have to
Love.
bring it up in a certain way that offends anyone else.
Yeah.
You know, Gary always says, whatever you believe in, whatever the higher power is, he says, I just tend to believe in God or Jesus or whatever, however he puts it. And I think that's, you know, the way it should be. Because a lot of times the guy that was talking, what I've experienced, people that talk like him don't accept me not believing like him.
I wonder, that would be a very interesting conversation to find out. One, does he know that that's the feeling he's giving out? And two, is that the feeling he wants to give out? You know what I mean? I think that would be because that goes back to the question that I asked. If I stand firm in my faith in what it is that I really believe, because if you're going to believe something, you should stand in it and believe it, or else what do you really believe it? I mean, show me your faith without works, like you said, with the action, Craig.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to take away from anybody else. Like the fact that Bree, I don't know how you pronounce it, but Baha'i?
Baha'i.
Okay. But okay. I was like, I saw it and I was like, I don't know how you pronounce that word. I've never felt that takes away any of my Christianity ever. And you and I
Yeah.
have known each other longer than anybody else. Well, I don't know how much you guys have known each other, but I know we go back a few years. Yeah, and I agree with you, Craig, also. Well, okay. I don't know what his intentions are. Obviously, I would love to have that conversation because I think he could handle it. This is how this made me feel. And you know, I just think he could handle it. It was interesting. And you're right, you do expose yourself when you go out there. You
Yeah.
definitely expose
And I don't think it has, I think you can stand firm on your faith. I don't think it takes away from that. You
No, I don't
know,
either.
we still stand firm on our faith and, you know, what we believe. You know, once I got to a certain point, I realized it wasn't about me arguing with someone about what they believe. I wanted to have conversations so that we could find our common ground, and we
Yeah,
could, because it's actually, in all actuality, is beautiful, you
absolutely.
know.
And
And,
there's
and
so
to
much
Craig's
common
point,
ground.
if you do it the way he does it, you do open yourself, and you have to be prepared. But like, we don't know if he knows that's the way he came off, or if he does, was that his intention? But you have to be mindful of your forum,
Yeah, yeah. Who's your audience?
and
Who
and
is,
be very careful about the way you say it. And I think
Yeah.
you're right, Gina. He would be probably. He seems like okay with someone having that conversation with him.
Mhm.
Coming from the South, the Bible Belt, I'm so
Huh.
used to hearing people like in the restaurant
Yeah.
that I'm serving. I will pray for you. Like
Huh?
Jesus loves you. I'm like, yes, and Jesus loves you too. Like
Yeah.
I can't even go back and say, and so does Muhammad. But
Mhm.
that's okay. Their intentions. I'm just used to it, so I'm kind of like numb. Like it doesn't faze me as much. But I've learned being on the other side, especially with me, like having the roots in Islam in the South, I have to be very careful. Well, I don't. Like I just respect, like this group does, the diversity of beliefs. But at the core, every single one of you on this call and on the team have the best heart.
Mhm.
And
And
that makes
that's
all the
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah,
yes,
it
because
really does.
ethics, integrity, you can have conversations with anyone that has ethics, that has integrity, that has a pure heart. And
Yeah.
you can be completely
Comes,
on the left or the right.
yes, who comes out of a place of wanting to understand. One of the most enlightening conversations I ever had was when this whole political thing was beginning of COVID, and it was the Great Divide was really coming in, and I was like, what the hell is going on? And also because when I was younger, I was a Democrat. I'm older, I'm a Republican, but I'm really sort of what does my son call me? Oh gosh, not independent, but something like that, whatever. Anyway, because I kind of pull issue by issue. But anyway, but my former business partner, very, 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 very liberal social justice Democrat. And I love her. I mean, she's awesome and she's brilliant. And it was just really cool to sit down and have conversations on this subject. Why do you feel this direction? And when she showed me the media that backed it up, that's when I realized that the media that I have that supported the thoughts that I was having, or the opinion that I had, she's like, I have never seen this news in my entire life. I'm like, I've never seen yours. And it
Yeah.
was this very interesting conversation, but it started with I love you. You feel this way, and I don't understand that. Tell me what that is. And so I can understand why you feel this way. But underneath it, I love you. And without the I love you, I wouldn't have cared
Yeah.
to know why, but I want to know and understand. So there's that. And then the other
Yeah.
thing it's interesting when you do, I haven't dove into the other faiths at all. It's a sprinkling, smattering, tiny bit. But things like is it the Sumerian flood? The flood runs through all of them. There's the Gilgamesh flood, I think is what it is.
Mm-hmm. The epic of Gilgamesh.
Yeah, yeah. There's some interesting things that run through all. And then right now I'm doing a deep dive into Jordan B. Peterson, who also, like Joseph Campbell, digs into myth, religion, the roots that run through the different religions of these same stories of creation, the divide between men and women, the great evil, the great dragon, all of that. And it's fascinating that I personally am interested in anything that is cross-cultural. Because if it's cross-cultural, to me, that means that there's massive validity to it. And what I mean by that is, I heard a guy, C.S. Lewis, who explained it this way. He said, if I'm on a train and you get up from your seat and I see you get up and I know that's your seat and I steal it because it's a better seat, he said, that has a very different feeling when you come back and catch me in your seat. I know I did wrong versus I just came on the train. I didn't know that seat wasn't taken. You were gone. I took the seat. And he said, this concept of stealing with the motive of stealing is cross-cultural. It's completely cross-cultural. Like everybody knows it's bad. And so when you have something like that, then I think you really need to pay attention to it because it's cross-cultural. It's there for a reason. And that's
Yeah.
like the flood of Gilgamesh or the battle. Is it the flood of Gilgamesh or the flood of, what is it, Craig? I'm missing
No,
it.
it's the Epic of Gilgamesh.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Spell it.
and what was that?
Spell it.
Gilgamesh. I believe it's, if I'm not mistaken, is Giglamesh.
Oh.
But
Gilgamesh.
okay.
Yes. All right, go ahead. Google,
but-
my friend.
So my brother-in-law, who's a pastor, see, I was shunned once I left the church by
Yeah.
my family, friends, my you know, my a lot of the guys that I was in ministry with that went on to be pastors. You know, I have a few. I have some real ones. The real ones stuck around.
The real ones
You know.
always will.
Yeah, you know, and so anyway, we won't get into that, but you know, I know how it feels. So and my wife even was, you know, she didn't understand. She wouldn't even listen to my point of view. And I did more research than anybody that I knew. I had questions, so I researched everything. Her parents are very religious. So anyway, her brother-in-law being a pastor, her sister's an evangelist, you know, all of them just couldn't understand, you know, they even, you know, laughed in my face, right?
Oh, Craig.
But it wasn't until he was going through his doctorate degree program
Mm-hmm.
when he found out about the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Ah.
Everybody was around the table, his mom, you know, my in-laws, everybody. And I'm hearing them talking about this, and he was like, you know, what is the Epic of Gilgamesh?
Mm-hmm.
And I explained it to him. And when they found out that I knew, that's when he got more respect for me. And he
Mhm.
told my in-laws, after he and I had a conversation, don't worry about Craig. Craig is going to be okay.
Craig gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
You know,
it wasn't until then.
I think that so when I was going through my divorce, which was a nasty, horrific, horrible, god awful divorce, I had 3 friends that were pastors of very different churches. So I had a very, very conservative pastor, Messianic Jewish. And then I had a very, very liberal pastor, Presbyterian, inner city Presbyterian, bad inner city town Presbyterian minister. And then the third one was actually my husband Greg's Uncle Greg, sort of the middle of the road. And I found it very, very interesting that as I was going through this horrific time, first off, all 3 were like, you need to get divorced. Like, and that was the common ground of which it was shocking to have 3 pastors go, you need to get divorced, period. But the very liberal pastor always thought that I was way too conservative and I was going to cause like issues or problems. And the very conservative pastor thought I was way too liberal and I was going to cause problems. And the love pastor just loved the socks off of me. But it's very different of how they felt about me, which I found it very interesting. But this was my point. That was just sort of an aside. When I went through that time, it was interesting to see who scattered out of my life and who stayed. And most of it scattered also, just literally. And then the people who stayed were the real people. And I think that real people of whatever faith, when you also go through really bad times, you just come at it, hopefully, you go one of 2 ways. You either turn to a horrible, hard person, or it really softens you to understanding that you don't have all the answers. And sometimes people just need a hand and help and love. And that through that, you'll do greater good than you would do any other way. You know,
Yeah,
real people have gone through some real stuff. They really do.
because I mean, after that, it was I I was always cognizant of doing the right thing
Hmm.
so that I could prove that I wasn't the devil because I left.
Right.
He'd been
I
taken
think
over.
you're like, pardon me?
I said he'd been taken over.
I think that your light shines through your eyes very brightly. I
Thank
really
you.
do. And you're welcome. And I think that there's a thing that you can see in some people where you can just see the light just shining out of their eyes. And I definitely think that this group has it. And maybe that light is love. I don't know what the name of that light is, but you can definitely see it.
Yep, mine is love. I mean, you know, I'm tolerant of other people when I used to be so judgmental.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Me too.
Guys, don't judge me when I kill my 17-year-old, okay?
Justifiable, Bree.
Help me.
I think that's normal when they get to that age.
Yep. Yep. They gotta break away and they don't know how to do it. And they have all these feelings, and it's oftentimes easier to break in anger than it is to break in love. And it's scary what they're going through. The breaking is scary. And think about it. I mean, you're leaving all safety, all security, all love, everything. Now you're not really, and you need to do it. It has to happen to become a whole person. But, and it's interesting. I was just listening this morning. Oh my gosh. They said that the thing that you fear, if you run from it, your chemical reactions in your brain tell yourself, the primal lizard brain tells yourself that thing was scary and it needed to be run from. And next time you come across it, you need to run faster. And it sets a negative feedback loop into your body of scary thing that you avoided. You need to run. You need to run faster. That thing is bigger and scarier than you think. Run. And when you set up that feedback loop, it builds the little tiny molehill into the mountain, which we already know, because I'm sure I know all of us experience that. And then again, the only way through it is to get through it, to teach your brain that, oh, hang on. And that is why you have to move forward in fear anyway, because otherwise you create this feedback loop. So I get what your son's going through. He, though, we already know his evidence. He is a good kid and he has morals and standards. And that means that whatever he's going through, he will come back. They always do. They come back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
he just hasn't learned how to do it. He hasn't learned how to express those things in a way that doesn't hurt or anger people.
Exactly.
But
And he's got no frontal lobe yet.
He's
Yeah.
comfortable enough to share it with you, so he loves you.
Look at
Oh, he does? Because I called him pissy this morning.
that. I'm pretty sure I've called my son that on occasion.
I know I've certainly said, I will always love you, but I don't like you very much sometimes.
I definitely told my, I don't like you, mommy. Yeah, well, I don't like you right now either. You know, still love you, don't like you. And you don't have to
Yeah.
like your relatives. You know, you don't have to. I definitely have a lot of relatives that I love from afar. I definitely. And one, I'm not gonna ever, I can't even say I love him. I really don't. I don't wish him evil. But I also don't ever want him in my life. So yeah,
Gotcha.
Some of those.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, all right, any else great thoughts or anything that you want to share?
No, this has
I
been
love you
great.
guys, and I hope you have an
And I got
amazing.
PF. Hang on, I got
day.
PF. I saw him to reach down, so I know he's gonna say something. PF, what are your
What-
words of wisdom?
Nothing really. MSRP is my favorite thing to talk about. Money, sex,
MSRP?
religion, and politics. So when I first got in, I was like, what did I step into? So I was like trying to figure out the context, but I knew it was one of my subjects, my favorite subject. So I just kept listening in to get filled in. So I'll just play the recording at some point later on to get the full background. But it was fascinating to listen in.
Love
Thank
it.
you.
Love it. Love it.
Sorry,
love it.
Anna. I interrupted you.
Oh, Anna, what you got, darling?
Oh, nothing, love. Just wanted to say I love you guys so much. I was on yesterday. I didn't catch the part that someone made the comment to prompt this entire discussion, so that's the part that I missed. The next
Yeah.
time I tuned in was Gary was talking about love and tolerance. I was like, I wonder how in the world this turned from that to this, from marketing to this. And then today's discussion, I'm like, okay, I need to revisit it to see what was said and how it was said. During the time I was listening, the guy did mention Jesus like a million times, and he brought his faith into the presentation. I didn't think it was offensive to me. I'm like, all right, you do you. I mean, as long as you're not judging anyone else, or whatever. I personally just don't even talk about religion or politics in general. But if that's what he's bringing to the table, then that's fine. I didn't think it was offensive. So I'm curious to know what the guy said.
I don't know if the comment was really made to point out that and that he was offended. I don't know that he was, but with all of us as realtors, one of the things that we really have to be careful about is politics and people's faiths. And I wonder if he just brought it in from that angle and that he wasn't offended. But
Interesting.
Yeah, you're right in that, because the way it was written, and that's because people write fast nowadays, and many of us aren't writers, and so we don't take the time to craft our sentences perfectly to make sure there's no ambiguity around it. It could have been misconstrued as I'm offended for other people. I want to make sure that you're legal within the Realtor Association rules, because most of us are real estate agents. I'm protecting everybody else. It could have read 8 million different ways. I don't know what way either.
I wasn't offended either.
Yeah, I just really was, it was fun. I'm glad that the conversation has occurred yesterday and today, because for me, that if it opens up a great conversation that is affirming and interesting, and we can all be real, and like Bree said, be authentic with who we are and what we believe and how we think and our experiences, then that's worth pretty much anything.
So I'm going to throw in my 2 cents because the consensus is leaning, I'm not offended. I'm always put up my guard. I kind of like, in Star Trek, they always say yellow alert, as they're approaching something cautiously. So I get into yellow alert because as a former Catholic gay man, I guess probably nobody knew that I'm gay, but anyways, hello, I'm gay. So
Hey,
I'm
we love
always,
you.
thank you, on alert to see what potential danger is this conversation going to get me into.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah,
almost like
so
going back a little bit, like, do I need to? Not real sure. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm always open. Like I said, I like having difficult conversations with my friends. I'm always talking about money, sex, religion, and politics. That's why I call it MSRP, because those subjects are very friction driven.
They are. We all have strong feelings about those. Yeah.
Yeah, but we should be evolved enough that we could share thoughts about things and explore different opinions and try to elevate the conversation and explore and see things from a different angle. However, a lot of people are very grafted into a mode of this is the only path, this is the only way, everybody else is wrong.
We are not
And
Mandalorians.
so exactly. So I love Jesus, but there is a lot of other components that a lot of people bring into the subtext of Jesus conversation.
Yeah.
So I'm always like, all right, let me pay attention. What is the intention of this person
Yeah.
towards me? Because, I have that, like some people in politics nowadays are taking a big aim at the word intersectionality.
Hang on,
Which
hang on. What word?
intersectionality,
I never even
Where-
heard of this word. I have to look this up. Keep on going.
Yeah. which is, the crossroads of your life paths. For
Uh-huh.
example, you are a woman. You are a woman of certain age. You're
Yep.
a woman of certain color. You're
Yep.
a woman of certain color and age of certain background. You're a woman of certain color of age and
Hey,
background
you
and
can
education
segment
level.
me down, or anyone else for that matter, to where I am now a census point of 0.0001, if you wanted to. I mean, you could dissect that all to little bits. Yes.
Exactly. So those are the intersections. And,
Okay.
a lot of us have to navigate life kind of like this.
Mhm.
And, whereas some people, because they kind of like blend into the norm, they have like an easy, calm seas. And the
Right.
rest of us are kind of like, oh, it's a little bumpy. How do I deal with this?
Oh,
So,
the
they're
tension.
taking,
The
they're,
tension between two opposing viewpoints or thoughts or something like that that are both true.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Go on. This is interesting.
yeah. So I always, when, like last night, I was like, okay, so where are we going with this? But I'm very accepting, if the intention is like, this is who I am, and I'm not here to profess that you are wrong, or that you should be changed. So, then I just took it from there. That was his intention last night. And I was like, all right, we're going to knock it down from yellow alert to a lesser, a lesser
green.
alert.
Yeah.
Yellow,
love-
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Like a
I love-
flashing yellow.
I love that.
And then, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go. I interrupted you. You go.
Oh, yeah. So it went from a yellow alert to kind of like a flashing yellow. And by the end of the night, it was no alert at all. And that's why, I was like, this is engaging. And I know that some organizations, major speakers like Dale Carnegie and I guess now Zig Ziglar. Zig Ziglar, he never really preached too much
Yeah,
his religion, but it was clear where he was coming from.
absolutely.
But the way he branded himself and presented his material, it was kind of like universal. So he was very smart about that. So that he kept it so that anybody can log in without having to put on the filter, take off the filter type of thing, so that you could say, oh, I can take this, take this. That doesn't apply. Take this, doesn't apply. Take this, doesn't apply. So
And that's
kind of like,
wisdom.
yeah. So I think Bree was making the point of when we're dealing with a group of realtors, and now we have the rule in real estate life is not to get into a controversial situation.
That's no MSRP.
That's right.
None.
Of any sort.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because so many people, so that it would make it easier for us to not ask people to put on and take off the filters. Because a lot of people are resistant to say, all right, this part doesn't apply, this part applies. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm too busy. I
Right.
don't want to. So that's how I take it. But I love that you all share your strong opinions, and you're all individuals. And I'm going to say something dangerous that I probably shouldn't say.
Do it.
Gina, I wish I didn't know you were a Republican.
That's hilarious.
because it's like, oh no, I love one more Republican. Ah!
I wish
tell
they'd
you
do
what.
away with all of those
I'll tell you
different
what, I am
political
more
things.
than happy to sit down at some point so I can learn your beliefs, understandings, and if you want to know about mine, that's fine too. It doesn't matter. I'm more
It's
interested in
fine.
what
You know, it's
yeah.
yeah, my former sister-in-law-ish is married to Ann Coulter's brother.
I don't know who Ann Coulter
Wow.
is. So I'm not a
You
good
don't know who
Republican.
Ann Coulter is?
No, I'm not a good Republican. I'm not a political beast. I just tend to vote more
She's
on
a
that
very
front.
incendiary personality.
Okay. I know the name, but I don't know anything about her or what she's
Yeah.
done.
So
Oh.
Thanksgiving dinner was very, very interesting
Ah.
when
That's
a
when it's
young
all gonna
Tia
come out.
was there. And I was the only minority at the table. So here we are, a brown Dominican gay hanging out with Republicans and somewhat tolerated at the table.
Hang on. Thanksgivings are always interesting because, you know, God knows what's going to come out. And
Right.
I can totally understand the cautiousness that first comes out, because that's the first thing that happened with me too. When he said that, I was like, okay, a full alert, like what's going to happen or what's going to be said. And I did go there and I didn't realize I went there. But I did. So thank you for mentioning that, because that brought that out. And I imagine you have had to walk that as a gay Christian man, because that puts you at that place of tension where you've got two opposing beliefs and somehow they're both true and somehow you have to rectify them in your head.
Yep.
And I affirm, appreciate, and love that about you, because it means that you think. And I like people who flipping think. And you've learned also to pull there's a grain of sand in, no matter, I don't care who it is, and I don't care how much you dislike them, there's a grain of sand in there that you can learn from it. Even my evil ex,
Yep.
It taught me all kinds of things about myself that I'm like, oh, I did not like that about myself and that needs to change. And there's some, but I don't have to take them, and we shouldn't take anybody at everything you do. We shouldn't, if we take every single thing you do, if we either demonize them or pedestalize them, lack of a better word, don't know what the right word would be, then we're in danger of either making them a god in our life or demonizing them. And we miss out, if we do the demonizing of, we have a prideful place, and we miss out on, well, there's something in there that I can learn, even if it's just about whatever I have inside myself that I don't like, that I don't want to have, or that I have that I won't acknowledge. And if we put them on a pedestal, angelize them, I don't know what the word is, nouns are gone, man, then we are placing something between, we're putting faith in a human being, and human beings are fallible people, and we're not-
Idolize them. I don't.
Thank
Maybe it's
you, that is
idolize
the
them.
word, that is the word, that's it. Pedalize, oh, hang on, it's getting really bad now.
Pedestal. You put somebody up on a pedestal.
Yeah, really bad now.
It's kind of like an idol, you know.
You know,
raise
my
them up.
Exactly.
Uncle Greg, who Greg was named after, pastor of a church, and he went through, I love this man. He's a good man. And he met me at like 4:30 in the morning one time at a Starbucks or something like that, because I wasn't sure about Greg, if Greg was really a good guy. And I called up Uncle Greg, who I knew, and I'm like, can you meet me? And he's like, I only have like 4:30 in the morning. Do you want to, and because he started work at like 5:30 in the morning. He's like, or 6 or whatever. He says, do you want to meet at Starbucks? And I was like, yeah, and just sit down with me for like an hour and a half and just poured into me what his nephew was really like. But anyway, so he went through a church split, and the church split was his fault because he had them do a play and they did Godspell, and it split the church. That was the first church split. The second one was because his son is gay, and the church came out and said, your son is gay, you need to disown him. And he stood up in the pulpit and he sobbed his eyes out and said, that is my son. And if you want to kick me out of this church, then you kick me out of the church, but that is my son, and I will never turn my back on my son. And I have so much respect for this man, who is a person who loves people, loves their socks off, wants to do good, always is the thoughtful, kind soul. You know what I mean? Who just stood up there and was like, kick me out. And he'd already been through it once. You know, he knew he'd survive it. he knew he would. He went and built another church, and it was, 10 times stronger and better, and didn't have the prideful current that one had in it. So it's an interesting thing to like you said, that intersectionality, to have those two things that somehow we have to reconcile them and get to this in our brains so that we
Right.
can live.
Yeah.
Yep. So PF, you are a brave man.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you.
Love you, PF.
I work on it.
Definitely.
It's a daily process.
I hear
Yeah,
you. I really, really
That's
do.
why I love this group. I love each of you individually. We can come into this space and we can talk. We can have these MSRP conversations, and we don't judge each other. And we don't get angry at each other.
No.
Well,
We listen. We listen to each other.
I'm sorry, Craig. I do judge you harshly in the good way.
Yeah, I should
I
say that.
very heartfully love you all, and that's my
Yes.
judgment.
Absolutely,
it.
absolutely.
I love
Yeah,
it.
same here.
And I'm thankful for the group too, because like you have put that caution tape up around you. PF, I probably do that more than I ever should. And here I don't feel like I do anyway.
No, I don't feel like I do either. And that's the difference when you walk into something where people love you. That is it. And they
Yeah.
love you for who you are. And it's okay to be weird or geeky or lumpy or bumpy or faith or fall down flat on your face. And I think that that's part of why we've all fallen flat on our face, and we all admit it. Yeah, I screwed that one up. That was not good. And it's okay.
It was, it's been really, really hard for me. I stepped away from the church like 8 years ago.
Mhm.
And it was, man, it was tough. And the thing about it, I heard other people, they leave the church and they were mad at the church for some reason. And that wasn't my reason. I learned something else.
Mhm.
And I knew when I walked away that I wanted to have the knowledge to be able to explain why.
Mhm.
That's why I dove head first into research, and I read like 40 books that one year.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
I
why
was
you like
always,
Jordan Peterson and knew who he was.
yeah.
Okay.
So it was very tough, even in business in the small town, everybody knows you. And even when they don't know you, they meet you, the first thing they say, oh, who's your family? And then the next, what church do you go to?
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Because you're in the South too.
Yeah.
Reality
And
is
then when I
very
say,
different outside the South.
yeah. So then when I say, I don't attend church, they look at me crazy and
Mhm.
back away.
Yep.
But I had to learn to be okay with it.
Yeah, because all it is people have constructs that when there's agreed upon constructs, then they know that there's a certain level of action or behavior would be a better word to expect from you. And when
Yeah.
you don't fit in that construct, then they have to step back and yellow caution flag assess. Are you safe? Are you not safe? And it's just a normal thing in the South construct. And I really feel like I know this because I came from the West Coast, like born and bred West Coast almost all my life, and then went to Virginia, the southern part of Virginia. And it was a huge culture shock, huge culture shock. And then from there went to San Francisco, huge melting pot of the entire world of, everything that you could ever want there, and or not want for that matter. And then Florida, some stops in between of Arizona, New York, but anyway, for the first time in my life, I was with other people that they just talked about God, and they don't do that on the West Coast. You do not even a conversation about Jesus, not about God, not about anything. You might have a conversation about rocks or stars, but you are not having any other conversation like verboten, right? And it was weird. It was just weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I understand. I mean, I don't understand the being born and bred and raised in it, but I do understand everybody knows you. They judge you by where you come from and who your family is and where you go to church. They just do. That's what it
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
And there's,
You know,
along with the bad that's in churches, there's good there too,
There is.
absolutely.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yep.
I mean, inherently, religion is good.
The faith in something bigger that has a moral code and construct for
Yeah.
your life, absolutely. And
Yeah,
our
it's good.
society, the further we fall from any of our faiths and become a completely unchurched, and I don't just mean Christianity, I mean like you have to have a set of calipers to measure yourself by of some sort. And when you remove that set of calipers to measure yourself by that is bigger than you and outside of you, when you take away that construct, you float, you falter, you
Drift.
yeah, you drift, absolutely. And we can see what is going on in our society because we don't have that moral code of something else. And even if for no other reason than your butt set in front of somebody and you contemplated your life last week, even if that's the only thing that happened and you spent an hour contemplating your life, we don't do that as a society. And because we don't do that, we have a society that is more and more just reacting instead of actually sitting down and spending some time in thought, regardless of, what the impetus is for that, of looking at our lives. And that's why when I built the class, I'm like, go find some big nature and go sit out there because you need to contemplate your life. We need to do that. And if we don't do that, we falter and we float adrift, just like you said, Kathy. That's what happens. So yeah.
So I'm gonna say one more. I'm gonna say one more thing. I gotta run, but
Yep.
when my dad has always been supportive. My dad is like my best friend, right? So, my dad is like so middle of the ground. It's crazy. Like if if that's what how you want to go, then that's fine. And he might ask a few questions or whatever. We talk, we have conversations. My mom is totally different, devout Jehovah's Witness, and when because I grew up Jehovah's Witness and Methodist. My dad's Methodist.
Mhm.
They've been married over 50 years and they made it work, right? So anyway, my mom challenged me. She found out that I knew what I was talking about,
Mhm.
when she was asking questions. So she said, well, aren't you afraid of going to hell? I said, well, when I get there, no one else will be there to see it but me. Because no one has ever come back to tell us what it was like, heaven or hell. So how do we know? How would you know that I was there? And she had to think about it. I said, either whatever's after this life, no one has come back and told us what it is or what it's like.
No, it's on faith.
And yeah, that's right.
I know if we have proof, it would be a completely different thing.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. If it's a faith thing. It's just like, why doesn't, there's no direct correlation between being a Christian and driving, expensive cars and having tons of money. There's no direct correlation, which is probably a good
Yep.
thing. We would become, how would you know if somebody really had faith? Because they would want it for the Cadillac and that's nothing.
Yeah. And like the presenter actually said last night, he thinks that,
well, that's right. He did mention
Christians should
money,
have,
didn't he?
the money or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And, I totally relate to that because growing up, it was almost like we were taught that you wasn't a good Christian unless you were poor.
Yeah, see, that is a prevalent belief. And I gotta tell you, so I have read the Bible 100 times, maybe, I don't know, a lot. Like
Yeah.
every year, at least once a year I've read it through. And sometimes I'll read like 3 or 4 times throughout one year. So probably not 100, but probably a good 60, 70 times. There is nothing in there that says you're going to be poor. There's nothing in there. It says you'll always have poor people with you. You always will. But if you go back to Old Testament, there was more of the prosperity teaching that if you were good, you were blessed. And it's
Yeah.
more on that side than the other side. So I'm not really sure where that belief came from,
I
except
think-
for the easier to
I
get
think it-
camel.
That's right. There you go.
Camel one. They take that
Yep.
one parable and expand it out to the entire thing.
Absolutely.
For
What
everything,
was it? I didn't hear it.
it's easier
for. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
it's easier for a man to get to heaven.
No,
A poor,
No,
a-
a camel to go through it at the eye of a needle than a
yeah,
rich
that
man
one.
to
The
go to
rich,
heaven.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
what it is. I'm like, butchering it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one. But you can take any, you can find, the whole Bible is full of these conflicting beliefs. And you can take any one statement, and this is why it's a whole unified thing. You can take any one statement, and you can find three that go the opposite direction, because
Uh-huh.
you cannot lay a complete 1 + 2 = 3. You cannot do that when you look at human lives. You can't do it. It doesn't work. And it was never meant to be that way. And I think that this is why your faith is to be in community. And I'm assuming, I don't know, I'm going to just say right there, I don't know about other faiths if there's a component of community, but there's definitely a component of community in that we need to rub up against each other with opposing thoughts and viewpoints and MSRP conversations. We need to have those, because that's where, if someone wouldn't have had some MSRPs with me, I would have very different beliefs, as fully evidenced by what I was like when I was 17 years old. Fully evidenced. So,
Yeah.
all right.
Well, religion
Yeah,
has been used as a tool of subjugation for ages and ages,
And
unfortunately.
also control.
So-
Also control.
also
Right.
control, absolutely. Yep.
So that's what the red alert comes in. And that's where, things like that parable gets misconstrued and stretched out into all kinds of things
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
because it's convenient for somebody else. And if you think back, if you rationalize long history forever and ever, for example, the kosher rules of
Yeah.
not having meats and dairies and stuff like that.
Or-
Think about,
yeah.
you're in a desert, no refrigeration, and you're consuming different things. Your body may react differently. So it's easier to codify things in the framework of religion for people to listen to it, as opposed to say, as a health professional, this is the best way so you don't get sick.
Exactly. No trichinosis. Don't eat pork. You don't get trichinosis. Take care of that problem. Absolutely. And also, you have to look at the fact that a lot of the laws were because it was an agrarian type of a society, and you
Right.
had to have laws that applied to an agrarian type of society. You can't directly, and also there's social constructs like a woman should always cover her hair, but that's not evidenced everywhere. It's just a passage here and there. And there, yeah, and there were reasons for why they did that, but it applied for that society in that time. And so you just,
That time.
yeah, for that time. And you have to look at, what was the reason why, what kind of society did they have? Why did they have the rules that they had, et cetera, et cetera? Why did they try, when they codified it to the commandments, why was it codified that direction? Well,
Yeah.
he had that type of a society, and Moses, who was the one that went up on the mountain and codified, had spent like 20 years with every single case going in front of him judging, and probably found like, okay, this is a problem, let's codify this, and we can codify these things. Again, agrarian society had to be done that way. Very different when you have an urban society. Some things are just different, So anyway.
I gotta go.
I gotta
Love
go
you
too.
all. I will
More.
talk to you tomorrow.
Absolutely. Have
Bye.
amazing days. And I lift all of you up and just blessings to rain down upon you.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Have good days, guys.
Yeah, we can all do that.
Yep.
Bye.
Raise the roof.
All right.
Bye, y'all.
Have a good
Bye.
one.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.